Short vowel sounds are very important. It's one of the first skills we teach after we, just get awareness of sounds in our language. We often spend a lot of time often on short vowel sounds. So I want to show you one of the things I use to help with short vowel sounds, cementing and reinforcing short vowel sounds. And I've used many resources and I continue to use many, but today I want to show you what I have in Google Sheets to help support short vowel sounds. When I work with short vowel sounds, I always connect the sound to the symbol and what's happening in the mouth. So when we have, and I'm just going to handwrite it here so you can see. Okay. So when we have the sound and the letter A that says I'd like to show that this is a very wide open letter. See, these are my fingernails here. And I do this symbol. And I know a lot of people do apple, and that helps too, apple. And you would talk about how wide your mouth is open to get that bite of the apple. But I might do this apple because it is this wide, And then when I talk about the see, it's only halfway open, and it's enough that one finger can fit in here. And eh. And I know a lot of people use edge, and I like the word edge and the hand signal for edge, but I tend to do this to help them remember it's the one that just has that much of that opening. See how it's the opening in the letter is half the size of the and your mouth is half as wide open, and then there's no opening at all, and I'll do this, like your teeth are just in a line, ah is another very open one, but it's more narrow, and I'll point here, and we do the octopus, and then is your tongue is down on the it's a very relaxed sound here, and I'll just point that your tongue is down. And doesn't that look like a tongue? Let me make it a different color. Doesn't this look like your tongue sitting here? It's pointing down, because a lot of kids will confuse it with the N where your tongue is up, and tongue down. Anyway, so that's, we'll make that connection. But then what do I do with that? So in OG, we often use a vowel intensive. Let me show you that one first. And we might use tense, and we'll say at, and the child says at, that's, A says and at, or, ed, and point to the, pull up the E says and ed, just reinforcing that. So that's great. I might also play it as a bingo game. So I would just put out one board, and then my student would say, hey, how do I know you're not cheating? You're playing too, but I think you might be cheating. So I put out my board too. And I share the document. So I come up here and do a share. And do this. So make it so anyone can edit. And obviously, before I send it to a student, I make an extra copy and make it specific for that student if I'm doing it that. Or I share the link with my student, and I would have my student work on one side, I would work on the other side, and we could either use the fill to indicate it, or we can just mark on it with our annotation. And I would say, the sound or the word is hot. What's the sound? And they would say and they would pick an and I would pick an and we'd mark it and go for 5 in a row or 4 in a row. I can see the screen. I can make it last as long as I want, right? I can know not to say certain words if I want it to last longer, and encourage that. And by having it in a game, I can get a little more engagement from my student with that. It can be very repetitious, right? So having it in the game helps with that. But I like to also play it in this game. So you can see, I don't know if you're familiar with Google Sheets. Google Sheets, these along the bottom here are the various sheets in the tablet. So imagine a tablet of paper, and the sheets are one after another. So these are the sheets. What I showed you, this one was the bingo cards, like that. This is what I call a race game. And I have this set up so it is like a vowel intensive. To use this, and I made a fresh copy here so you can see the process. This is a button that activates a macro. And I know people think macros are scary. So a macro, if you ever get something and people say, oh, you've got to authorize the macro, and you're like, I don't know if I trust this. Go up here before you authorize it. Go up here to extensions, go to app script, and it'll show you what's in the macro. And this says things like clear this cell and get this value and set the value in the cell and set the formula to be equal to T equals T91. And this one might say you're going to get a random number and you're going to set the value. And this one might say, you know, look at the formula in the dice sheet or things like that. Or this might say, this one says randomize, get this range and randomize it. You can look at this. It doesn't have to make sense to you. You can look at it and it's not saying write this to your hard drive, which it really can't, or search for any emails or, you know, you can see, I think you can see if it was something malicious, but in any case, you can always look at that before you authorize a script. So back here, so I'm going to try to activate this and I press this and it says, I need authorization. Now, depending on whether or not you've used anything like of mine before, you may only just have to go in and hit allow. If you've never used mine, it will say potentially unsafe, return to safety, you know, you're losing your life, things like that. And they're telling you that Google has not reviewed the script, but you want to hit allow or, you know, go to advanced and yes, you know, allow it. And it might ask you like 3 different steps, or it might just ask you the 1 step. But now it's allowed. We've authorized the script and we looked at the script, it was safe. Here we go. This script is going to pull up a new word, a new card for you. And what I've done here for this game is I've picked combinations where there could be various vowels in here. And I know my student, I know which ones I have to reinforce more, so I'm going to try to choose those more. But all of the words that come up have at least 2 possibilities. So do I want sap or do I want sip or do I want sup? You know, so I can say, I know my student has trouble with the I sound, so I'm going to say the word is sip. And I want them to tell me I, and then they get to roll the dice and move their piece 3. Now, here's the thing with Google Sheets, and it's like this for Google Slides. To move something, you have to tap it once to get the square around or the rectangle around it. And then once you have the rectangle, you can just drag it. 1, 2, 3. Oh, back to start, shucks. And we do this again. So on this game board, I play that if I'm playing with my student, if I land on lose a turn, I lose a turn. If my student lands on lose a turn, they have to read 2 cards in order to roll. I mean, my objective is always to get them to interact with more words, right? And I play if you land on the other person, they go back 3 spaces. And I play this one generally where we have to land exactly on finish. But in any case, I might say the word is sip and they go, oh, sip, E says and sip. I was like, okay, wait, you're saying, and these are movable pieces here. I said, you're saying E, but this says This would say sep. Did I say sep? Listen to me again. Sip. What's the sound? Look at my mouth. Sip. And get them to identify. And if they're having trouble, I might limit it and say, is it this one or this one? Which one do you hear in sip? Look at my mouth. Are my teeth lined up? Is my mouth open? Sip. And help them find the sound. So connecting the sound to the symbol to what's happening here. And then we roll. So all of the words that pop up here have at least 2 possibilities. Some of them have 3, like for B and the T, it could be bat or bit or bet or but or whatever. And you can say bot, even though it's not spelled that way, because we're working with the sounds. Or it could be a bot, like, you know, what we have in coding, bots. Anyway, so they have at least 2 possibilities, sometimes 3. Just pick one and say the word. Your student then has to identify. And then on your turn, obviously, it's, oh, okay, the word is set. And then you know, pick the ones that you want to reinforce, because it's nice for our students to hear us say it and think it, right? So I have this game here to help reinforce it. I have this game. It's the same process, but I actually have the words here, and I'm just going to ask the student to read the words and do the same thing. They're going to move along the path and get to the finish and read the word correctly and roll the dice. And if they say, you know, something that's incorrect, I might say, I heard you say bucks, and that's not what I hear, what I see here. What is the sound for this one? And I can bring these down and say, this is what I'm hearing you say, but that's not this letter. You know, what sound does this make? And reinforce the vowels this way. So new card. And once you authorize the script once, you don't have to do it again. And then hit the roll and it says, oh, you got a 1. You roll 1. Okay, so I have the game, this one where the student identifies the sound. This one, the student reads the words. Then I have the bingo cards just on this. And then I have just a short vowel bingo. And these have, I put in extra of the minimal pairs, confusing words. So P's, B's, D's, you know, a lot of my students that are beginning with short vowel sounds also need help with these. So this is extra reinforcement. And I might call the word, or I might give a clue. You know, let's find a word that is something you can do, an action you can do. And they might say, oh, I can set the table. But if they say this one, you know, I can set the table, it's, oh, that one has the other sound, that one's the I. So this one is sit. We don't sit the table. You might sit down, but you don't sit the table. So it's, you know, that. So reinforcing the sounds, reinforcing minimal pairs, just really focusing in on what they're seeing, connecting the symbol to the sound. So, and I also have sorts here. Now, I know a lot of people don't realize that Google Sheets is great for sorts. Oh, and let me show you one other tip. I had just been working with it because I was showing you the extensions. This is a lot of real estate to lose here. You can hit this and make it go up, or, and you've got more space here, or there's an option here in view full screen, and it's just like going full screen on Google Slides. It gets rid of all of that. So you have the option to do that if you don't need the controls. Once you've authorized the script, you don't need the controls anymore. Anyway, so this is just a simple sort. And with the, I didn't put all the vowel sounds together because usually our students have trouble distinguishing one from another. And like it's usually the E and the I, the eh, or it might be the ah, or it might be the ah, or the So I put it in what's the most confusing. There may be some kids who confuse the I and the but that happens less often. And if that were the case, I would just duplicate the sheet and copy over the pieces into the new sheet. So here, go and again, to move a piece, like these, we can stick them all on the side. To move a piece, click it so that the rectangle is around it, put it to the side, and start. And I might start out with my my visual cues as to the sound here, or I might put these on the side and let them say, oh, that one's the mouth is open, it's eh. And this and the teeth, I can see the teeth lined up there, that one's the eh. So either leave it here or let them sort it, whatever, and you can do the sounds. So lip and six and pig and red and whatnot. And it's nice when you can actually the student gets to see their mouth at the same time that they're saying it. So I have the E and I, sort, the A with 2 fingers, sort, the and the sort. And you can see when I say my mouth is actually narrower and more open. So we can see these differences. And it's really nice too to take pictures of the kids' mouths and put them in here. And Google Sheets is great. If you want to get back out of full screen, you hit escape. Escape brings it down. And you can do insert image. And a movable piece has to be over cells. So insert image over cells. And you can go in and take a picture. You have the choice of taking a picture. Okay, we're going to take your picture. Or have the student do this and take the picture. And put the student's mouth in here to see, to sort. And you can go, camera, take a picture. Now, I can't do it right now while I'm filming on Zoom. But you would be able to do this if you were not filming at this or not using Zoom at the same time. If I wanted to do this, I would have to stop my video for Zoom so that Google would have access to the camera. Okay, but you can take a picture of the student's mouth, stick it in here. Okay, I like to use the kids' mouths too. So here we go, and then we have the and the So that's what I have to help support. All of these are movable. I stick them on the side, bring them in to do the sorts. Put in new pictures. They're super easy to do on Google Sheets, as well as on Google Slides. It works the same way. Insert, image, and if I want something that's movable, you do image over cell. And let's see, what else do I want? I can do a Google image search for I already have pot, top, whatever it is, I might put it in. Did I get dog in there? I don't remember. And there we go. Let's put in this picture. And select it, insert. Oh, I did have a dog, but I might say, I like this dog better. Sometimes I'll let the students pick the pictures and then you just bring it down. There we go. I've got this one. I'll let my students pick the pictures that they like. You know, the more choice that they have, the more they're involved in the activity, the more engaged they are, the more they learn. Anyway, so that's what I have here to help support short vowel sounds in Google Sheets. I hope that's helpful. All of this is easy to do if you're familiar with Google Sheets. If not, I will also have a video on how to do that. And this particular sheet is up in TPT, but you know, make your own. It's pretty easy to do. Anyway, except for the games. The games are a little more difficult, but I have videos on how to do that as well. So I hope that helps.